against the mirror.
I actually
really call it Mother Rune.
I actually birded Jacob losing game 3. Losing games 2 and 3 to Dan Jordan at the Legacy Grand Prix playing for top 8, in large part because of Dan Jordan's gut shots.
Yeah.
Just broke up his mana creatures, and Kory's draws couldn't really function without them. So it's possible based on that experience, Kory's decided to incorporate them himself.
Sure. All right, so you're going to have Phil Renaud on the left of your screen, Jacob Kory on the right of your screen. Phil is playing Esper, while Jacob Kory is playing... I'm going to keep calling it green-white. I hate Maverick.
Yeah. Green-white creatures.
Iceman.
White man. Mono-white creatures, green-white creatures, white-blue-black creatures. I come much more broad naming convention background.
Sure.
It's the colors of the deck and then either creatures or spells as appropriate.
He is playing green, white, blue, black combo.
Yeah. High Tide is blue spells. That was what he was playing last round. Dwarf is blue creatures.
All right, so the player's rolling for who goes first. This is often a key feature in Legacy, more so than in a lot of other formats, just because the cards are so powerful that actually getting on the board first matters a lot more than it does in some other formats.
Yeah, when you have a format that's where you have Force of Will, Dark Ritual, Chromox, all these influential cards that are actually sources of card disadvantage, being very influential, it sort of demonstrates that tempo has a much bigger place in the format than...
Right. I mean, in cards like Thalia, for instance, Thalia is way better if you have it in play before your opponent has been able to play, several of the spells.
So it looks like Kory's taking a mulligan here. Kory's got a couple weirdos in his list. I've seen these in some green-white lists. Some have variations on this. He has 2 copies of Scavenging Ooze. A lot of decks just have one as a Zenith target.
Scavenging Ooze is becoming a lot more popular.
Yes,
it's skyrocketed in price, eclipsing the value of the commander deck it comes from.
Turn 1 Marsh Flats.
Come on over.
And
and Chris Shader.
And Kory sitting and waiting there because of Stifle potentially being in his opponent's deck.
So his opponent fetches for a Tundra, so he doesn't want to get himself stifled if, in fact, Jacob is actually going to fetch a blue land with that.
And there is a Beta Savannah.
So pretty. So pretty.
This is worth more than your standard deck. That one card in play.
It probably is.
Yeah, for sure. Depending on the shape, it's probably somewhere between $500 and $700.
Is it really? We got close up on our Beta Savannah.
Yeah. And a Noble Hierarch out of Kory.
Pretty much the best opening. You really want the mana acceleration is very important. Being able to leverage your Green Sun Zeniths and your Knights as quickly as possible.
Yep.
Is definitely a big deal. One of the best cards in the green-white deck is Green Sun Zenith. Not only because it functions as sort of redundant copies of a lot of your utility cards, your most powerful stuff, but because it can just be Land or Elf by going to get Riot Arbor on turn 1.
And this is also a feature of the Legacy format. Probably the only one that I dislike is the searching and shuffling.
I'll go get this, I'll shuffle. I'll go get this, I'll shuffle. I'll go get this, I'll shuffle.
There's our fifth shuffle of the game?
The turn? Yeah, it's actually the 5th shuffle of the game.
Yeah. Renaud shortcutted through one of his shuffles, but yes, it should have been 5.
But yeah, it's definitely a characteristic of the format that is not my favorite.
And there's a Thalia. And Thalia very good against the Jit here because it itself can hold off the Stoneforge Mystic.
Right, can first strike. And it's getting Force of Willed. So Force of Will takes down Thalia, and we see
a Mother of Runes, also very good in a Jit fight. So
yes.
The green-white deck definitely has a lot of tools to fight against Jitte, which is sort of a requirement since it is a green-white creature deck.
Right.
And so Jit is going to naturally be very good against it.
And it looks like Phil is without another land. And 1 damage.
Yeah.
Getcha.
If we didn't know before, we certainly know now.
Yeah.
A Dryad Arbor.
So
It's a Scrib Ranger. This is a kind of a complicated card. It's a 1/1 flash pro blue flyer, and he can return a land to his hand to untap a creature once a turn.
With Noble Hierarch, that can end up producing a significant amount of mana. With Mother of Runes, it's especially good because you can actually protect your creatures multiple times in a turn.
Yep.
Often a player who's trying to combat Mother of Runes needs to use a removal spell, then when they use tap the Mother of Runes to protect itself, use the other removal spell. But if you actually have Scrib Ranger, you're able to protect it twice. Ooh. Wasteland. That's going to be brutal. So Wasteland goes to take out Tundra.
That's going to bring a Jit into play.
Jit comes into play. But Jacob looks like he has a Pride Mage in his hand.
And a Terravor, which is going to be gigantic.
Yeah. Oh, and looks like there's some sort of confusion.
Oh, I think because he floated a mana, and I assume Jacob said declare. Yeah,
it backs him out of his right.
Yeah, it basically kicks it back to Kory's first main phase.
Yeah, that's correct. So how this works is Jacob wastelanded the Tundra, and Phil floated the mana. Jacob said he'd like to declare his attack. So Jacob responded to that by putting Jitte into play. However, because Phil has taken an action, Jacob is put back into his first main phase, so he's able to play the Kasali Pride Mage. If Phil had just let the mana go, then he would not be able to go back to his main phase. He would be in his attack step and unable to play the Pride Mage before attacking.
Although Renaud basically just needs to put his Jit into play because he's losing his white mana.
He has to do that.
So that's not a mistake. That's just
of course. No, this isn't a mistake at all. This is just sort of explaining how these sort of rules work. It seems the players are clearing this up with the judge.
Yeah. So
Pride
Mage resolves.
And we're going to see a
Scrib Ranger get in.
That's
a 3 spot there. 2 Exalted triggers.
Exalted is actually a very powerful mechanic. And one of the reasons you actually see Noble Hierarch, Pride Mage overall, many other creatures that have relatively similar effects.
A Thoughtseize gets a Terravor out of Kory's hand.
That matters.
Yeah, definitely that Terravor.
Probably not going to be enough to sort of recover this position alone, at least. Phil is still both land light and color screwed, thanks to that Wasteland. Yeah, so Pride Mage comes in.
Attacks for 4. Just a Heath for Kory, but still looking very good. He's got the Jit covered. The only real risk here is that of Renaud basically drawing a white source of mana and a Batter Skull or something similar.
Yeah, and this that just going to die.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that attack because you basically the only way it seems even possible to get out of this game involves.
Is he blocking? Oh, he's returning.
Oh, okay, he's just going to Scrib Ranger.
Okay, got it. Yeah, that lets him keep his Pride Mage in play. I like that.
I wouldn't even risk offering it up.
Yeah.
And Academy Ruins.
It's not really what he's looking for.
Not.
It's another one of those lands that people play because it sort of seems free. It's like, oh, I can play so many colorless sources in my deck.
It is not.
This is the only colorless source in Phil's deck, but you need your colored mana. It's hard to play the game when you can't actually cast your spells.
Yeah, I put a pretty big. Anytime I'm sort of looking at these decks or thinking about building them myself, that if I am looking to add colorless lands to a deck that is already susceptible to Wasteland, it requires a pretty high barrier. Right. And just, he has a singleton intuition so he can engineer some situations.
Yep.
But on the balance, it's, potentially just not worth it. So Kory has drawn a Stoneforge Mystic, which is going to find his own Jit.
She's going to clear out the Jit and let him keep his Pride Mage in play as a both beater and source of Exalted, and potential solution to a future equipment. Boom.
Going to Legend Rule it there. What are your thoughts on Stoneforge Mystic in the green-white deck?
I really don't like it. I actually kind of like the fact that Jacob has only a couple copies. Sort of Light and Shadow is okay, I think. Jitte is the card that I really want. In my version of Green White, I just play 2 Jittes. I don't have any Stoneforge Mystics, and I don't play any swords. I think that it's very difficult to actually afford the mana that you need to spend to commit to actually using a lot of these equipment, and against a lot of decks, you really need to be doing things that are actually proactive with your mana all the time. Mm-hmm. And Stoneforge, is a powerful card certainly, but it doesn't really set up, a great sequence of turns in terms of your ability to actually apply pressure to a lot of decks.
So Renaud has a Lingering Souls, which actually buys a considerable amount of time on this board.
That card does matter quite a bit. Interestingly, Kory, in this position, would have been better off having killed the Jitte with his Pride Mage and then playing his own Jitte.
So yeah, it looks like we're going to get Scavenging Ooze, which is going to take care of the Lingering Souls in the graveyard.
I like that.
Yep.
Yeah, there's so many applications for Scavenging Ooze. We heard people talk about how Tarmogoyf is sort of this hallmark creature of Legacy and Modern and whatnot. There aren't even Tarmogoyfs in this deck. Tarmogoyf has gotten so outclassed by the utility of creatures like Scavenging Ooze, and even in terms of the potential size of a creature like Scavenging Ooze. Oh, we're taking with everything.
Yep, we're just going to alpha here. The Scrib Ranger provides a lot of insurance from this attack going too badly. Uh-huh. So if he puts Stoneforge in front of the Dryad Arbor, he can just bounce it.
So, yep. So here, Phil's going to take 1 damage, lose all of his guys.
And yeah, the Ooze is pretty insane. I mean, this is a format that it's...
No, we're going to untap, sure. It gives us access to another mana.
Legacy decks are often decks that kind of use, every part of the buffalo, as it were.
Yeah.
And the graveyard's another part of, a huge part of that reason.
Even against decks that aren't specifically graveyard based, like against Dredge, or Reanimator, a card like Ooze is amazing. But against a deck like, say the Mirror Match, even there, Ooze, eats your opponent's land, so they can't have a gigantic night.
Yeah, and even there, it's...
Eats Snapcaster targets, eats Lingering Souls, all sorts of action, so it's a big deal.
I would not describe Renaud's deck as being especially graveyard-oriented as far as decks in Legacy go, and the Ooze still has plenty of utility against what he's doing.
Yeah, the Ooze is excellent in this matchup, and it's only eating Lingering Souls and impossible things that are being Snapcastered. I guess after sideboarding, no, it doesn't really look much different after sideboarding. There's no... and even that Academy Ruins. The Academy Ruins, just like these little marginal places where it can come up. And Intuition gets a lot less powerful if you can eat all the souls that it tries to bring up.
So Jacob's sideboard includes 2 copies of Choke, which I'll absolutely want. The 3 copies of Spell Pierce. It's possible that he wants to... I could imagine him trying to engineer Choke with Pierce back up as his way of winning the matchup. Mm-hmm. But Spell Pierce isn't exceptional here, so I'm not exactly sure how he's going to handle that. It's possible he wants the 2nd copy of Jit, because fighting over Jit's a big part of the matchup.
Sort of Light and Shadow can get his stuff through Lingering Souls, which is actually a pretty relevant aspect of that card in this matchup.
Yep. And
I don't think cards that come out. I don't
like Teague.
Yeah, I don't like Gaddock Teague. I don't like Stoneforge Mystic that much. But I just don't like Stoneforge Mystic that much. So as far as if it's particularly good or bad in this matchup.
Do you cut a Thalia if you're on the draw?
You're playing against a deck that has Jace and Lingering Souls. Like it leverages its mana quite a bit through a significant portion of the game.
I would imagine the Terravor gets cut here. I think it's probably more.
Yeah, I don't think you want.
More for matchups that it's about the ground matters.
Right.
It's basically the biggest dude you can get in that slot.
This matchup gets a lot worse for Kory after sideboarding. The combination of Zealous Persecution and Perish makes it very difficult for him to use Mother of Runes to protect his guys, and can just gives Phil so many answers to pretty much everything that Kory's deck is capable of actually presenting as threats.
Yeah. The thing is, Kory has choke as a potential huge ace, depending on.
Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't actually. Oh no, there is one disenchant in Phil's deck, so he does have an out to it if it does resolve.
And again, the big question mark from my perspective is if Kory's going to bring in his Spell Pierces or not.
Yes.
Because that could change the dynamic of the matchup quite a bit.
My inclination is that the matchup is sufficiently grindy that Spell Pierce isn't really the sort of card that you're looking for. You can very easily get Spell Pierce like stranded in your hand.
Also plays poorly with Thalia, and if he's expecting that to be a big...
Yeah.
But the dream of choking with Spell Pierce backup is pretty attractive.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to, lock out most of Phil's land, though you actually do see a number of Esper decks that sort of trick out their mana base to fight choke. Yes, I've seen Glacial Fortress. I've seen like Seachrome Coast.
Yeah, there's definitely some lands.
All sorts of things that people play, to give their deck a bit more resiliency against choke. Because choke has become such a popular card as far as sideboards go.
Yeah, I remember there was a PTQ like 10 years ago when Blue-Red Donate was the deck in the format, and I remember a friend of mine, I think it was Paul Jordan, cut a Volcanic Island for a Shivan Reef because of Boil.
Sure.
Like, I cannot believe the format has gotten to this point where we're cutting Volcanic Island for Shivan Reef.
We actually played in the Pro Tour,
New Orleans.
We actually played no copies of Volcanic Island, I think. We played... It may have been... I don't remember exactly what it was. We may have had no copies. We may have had, just 3 copies, so we get Intuition to get 1. And we had Ruination in our sideboard.
That was my first PT. I remember that. I remember you playing against Osip, who was playing R75.
Oh, yes. That match is one of my favorites.
Day 2, and Osip casting Hunted Wumpus, and you putting Morphling into play, and then untapping and Ruination.
It gets better. I Rushing River as Hunted Wumpus the next time.
Wouldn't even let him keep the Wumpus. Didn't even matter. You had enough mana to just jam your Morphling and untap and make it a 0/7, but might as well just unsummon the dude too.
The best part of that story is that actually it began with him me double mulliganing him.
Yep.
Him duressing and verdicting me, then me just peeling intuitioning for 8.
I was there.
Cards.
I was there. Adam and I were birding. We both missed day 2 with the same deck.
Sure.
And then you go to 5, and I whisper at Adam, this game's not even close to over, right? And Adam's like, yeah, I know. And then you just destroy. Oh, Hunted Wumpus. I don't know why you were in my extended deck, but you were there. Played against Reanimator a couple times, so that was cool. Got Avatar wood off that guy.
Was that your main deck?
Oh, yeah. We had 3 at least.
3? Wow.
Yeah. Go big or go home, man.
Well, it was a Hunted Wumpus who went home.
Oh, yeah. Gerard and I played, again, very close to a mirror match. And the junk mirror match is just you start having a Wumpus battle, each person puts one into play, and then just the last Wumpus wins. And he had 3 to my 2, so I lost. It was just a bad day.
Last Wumpus win.
It was a bad day for the Wumpuses. Mine at least.
You just gotta look at your hand. You're like, how many Wumpuses do I think he has?
Yeah. You gotta read into his soul. It's do I cast my Wumpus or do I wasteland him to keep him from playing his to give myself more time to draw into more Wumpuses?
That's not even the best story involving Gerard and Hunted Wumpus. There's the demonic consultation story
for Humpus Wumpus.
Yeah, where he just didn't know the name of the card. And this was before you could ask for Oracle text of cards during matches. So he's just I'll consult for Humpus Wumpus, and they're like, that's just not a card. And eventually he broke down and consulted for Curse Scroll because he just couldn't think of it. Oh dear, the good old days.
Yeah, it's almost like one of the Saturday Night Live Jeopardy skits or whatever. Yeah. It's just that does not qualify as an answer.
Humpus Wumpus Trebek.
That is just not a card.
That's not even a number. All right, looks like the players may be ready to play. I think they've been enjoying our stories as well. That's why they've been taking so long between games.
That's probably not true.
I'm going to believe it though.
Yes.
There is actually a 3-minute time limit to sideboard and shuffle. So
a couple of legacy aficionados probably just enjoy shuffling quite a bit.
You got to like it, man. It's the cornerstone of the format.
Yeah. The most actual significant interaction, the pillar of the format, is brainstorm plus fetch land. The most fidgety the most fidgety thing you can possibly do.
Yeah, I'm gonna put this one back.
Resolving a ponder, I guess, is equally as fidgety.
It doesn't have as many moving parts.
You have 2 hands of cards,
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
and then you have to decide if you want how you want to set them, or if you want the mystery box.
It could be a boat.
It could be anything. All right, so both players look like they're keeping 7. Renaud leaves off with a ponder. The top 3 appears to be Tundra, Stoneforge, Plow. I cannot imagine this being shuffled, but
Those are some pretty good cards in this matchup.
yeah. All 3 of them pretty excellent.
The only question is, if he has another Stoneforge, if he already has a Stoneforge, he probably wants to draw the.
Yeah. He has to weigh it against the other shuffling effects that might happen in the next turn or
well,
two.
which one do I want? Do I want to shuffle away this thing? And we see Windswept Heath go get a Beta Savannah.
Presumably, yeah.
Right there, it's waiting.
Yeah, come on, man.
No. Does he want a different Beta Savannah? Does he not
Dude,
want
we get it. You have a lot of base advantage. You don't need to be showing us your whole deck, you know? Basic planes.
That's interesting. I mean, the Esper control decks traditionally don't play Wasteland.
Yes.
So, I mean, maybe he's just not sure if his opponent is playing sort of the more traditional build, or just has a hand that has sufficient colored sources that he's not worried about, potentially.
It's also possible that he's hedging against a potential submerge by leading with the planes.
That's also true. Yeah, that's actually a very good point.
Because now he has Mother Runes up and he's covered against.
Yeah, well, absolutely. That was something that I had not yet considered.
Although, again, the Esper control deck's normally not associated.
Submerge,
but
right. Submerge is more of a rug style card or Merfolk card. So we have Mother of Runes, and Mother of Runes demands a Plow.
Gone farming. Puts Kory back up to 20.
Which source of plowshares do you like to play? Well, you don't like to play source of plowshares, but which one would you play?
Beta. It's not even a question.
I actually like
if a beta card exists, that's the one that gets played with.
Ooh, Sylvan Library.
A very, very powerful card in a slow, grindy matchup.
A super big deal in this matchup. There's not that many ways that the Esper control deck has to actually get rid of Sylvan Library, and the ability to both have the card selection of just be able to look at 3 and take what you want, as well as the ability to pay life for additional cards. When you have things like Knight of the Reliquary getting Swords of Plowshare, you gain a lot of life.
Yep. And again, with the various, Green Sun Zenith and Fetch lands, you're able to.
You have a ton of selection. Yeah. Even if you're not sort of ripping raw cards for life, you can just find what you need, and that's a big deal.
So a Stoneforge Mystic from Renaud finds a Sword of Feast and Famine.
Okay. So I'm actually a big fan of having a lot of Pride Mages in my green-white deck, because equipment is such a major fixture of the various. All the major decks now, except for Rug. And Jacob seems to have a similar opinion. He has 3 Pride Mages in his deck. I actually like the full 4. But this turn he goes for a Stoneforge, which I'm guessing will probably get... he gets sort of Light Shadow or Jite. Those are the options. And he gets the sword. So dueling swords. The one that has protection from the color of creatures that are actually around is potentially more valuable.
So Kory, I believe, missed his 3rd land drop and only took 1 card off of his Sylvan Library, which to me it seems like you just want to go up to whatever your max hand size is, even if you're planning on shuffling, because your life total is really not under duress in this matchup.
Huh? Yeah, that is a little odd.
I don't think he's at 7 cards. I think he's at 6 because he cast the Sylvan Library. So
yeah, I am a little. It is a little peculiar that he didn't want any of those cards.
So Renaud thinking about his options here.
Actually, the most common thing I say the turn after I play Sylvan Library is pay 8.
Oh yeah. I love a pay 8. It's a little different here. If he was going to miss his land drop anyway, it's fine to not take everything in discard.
Right, yeah.
But I would probably just drop to 7.
It looks like we're getting a
Snapcaster
on Plow. So that's gonna be a big deal. That leaves Jacob with the sword largely stranded in his hand. And there aren't many white creatures in his deck that can actually hold up to a sorted creature on Phil's side. So Phil's able to deploy that sort of Feast and Famine next turn With one more land, he can put it into play with Stoneforge Mystic and equip his Snapcaster Mage and start going to work on Jacob's hand and life total.
All right, so Jacob's going to pay 4 off the Sylvan Library, keeping a Savannah and a Greenstone Zenith.
Okay. It looks like he's going to play a Knight. Okay.
So he is exposed to the sword if Renaud draws a 4th land here.
Yeah. If Renaud has land Jace, this game is effectively over.
Yeah. But he missed his land drop last turn, so without a 4th land, it's hard for his turn to be too devastating because he can't Stoneforge his sword out or cast the Jace that you're alluding to.
Yeah.
And it's actually really important for Renaud to have something either to kill the Knight or have his 4th mana, because this Knight's going to start spinning up Wasteland soon and take out all of his mana.
Are these just attacking?
Whoa.
Oh, he's going to Zealous Persecution. He must have Zealous in his hand, so he's trying to bait blocking.
Okay, sure.
Because Jacob has 1 land in his yard.
So any block...
Oh, he's going to block! Yeah, there's a Zealous. So we're going to see a trade here, which is... I mean, this isn't bad for Kory, because it commits Phil's mana on his turn. Kory, I believe, had another Knight in his hand. So...
yeah, but I guess if the thing is, if Renaud is actually out, like if he doesn't have... a way to kill the Knight other than that exchange happening, untapping with a Knight is it's over.
Right, but I mean, if Kory already has a Knight, and here he is a Wasteland, so he can
I assume he's going to tag the Tundra.
Right, so this gets Phil's entire turn, as well as the Zealous Persecution out of his hand, and Persecution can be relevant in future turns.
So Renaud casting a Brainstorm, traditionally a bad sign here. It means he's the main phase it like that. It means he's digging for land or something.
Brainstorm is typically a card that you want to try and maximize by waiting until the last possible moment to cast it. You want to be able to dig for exactly what you need rather than sort of marginally optimizing your hands.
Yeah.
And it looks like Renaud is putting 2 cards back. Does he have another land? He does. He has a Tundra. So the big question is, does he have the Plow to go with it?
So we're going to spin, and then he is just going to get buried here under...
We do know that Phil has that sort of Feast of Famine in his hand, so he is able to put that into play with that Tundra now, and Jacob actually needs something... I mean, he doesn't need something to stop it necessarily, because he has a Knight in play, but he would definitely prefer to not get hit by sword.
Yeah, well, he can always Knight for Maze, no matter what. Yeah, he has that sort of insurance.
Well, Maze is in his sideboard, actually, and I don't know if he's brought it in.
I assume he had one in the main.
No, Maze is actually only a sideboard card in his deck.
Okay.
And this is 4 mana. He doesn't have Elspeth. It looks like he's going to be
Zenith
another
for
Zenith for Knight. So this play, he's opening himself up to getting hit with a big Perish, but he is going to Wasteland.
Yeah. So the question now is if he's
I think he Wasteland Black Source.
If Perish is on his radar.
He Wastelands Tundra. Oh, okay, he doesn't.
Oh, yeah, he's getting the seed.
Yeah.
So
now Phil has to both draw a Black Source and have Perish in order for him to really get out of from this position. Otherwise, he's going to be getting crunched by those Knights. They're both going to get Wastelands next turn, and he's going to have 0 land.
Yeah, so then at that point, he's just hoping... Like, at that point, I mean, the sword's not going to be close enough for race because the Knights are going to start hitting for a million.
The Knights are just monstrous. Knight of the Reliquary has +1/+1 for each land in your yard, so especially as they start working and fetching Wastelands, every time you sack a land to get a Wasteland and then use your Wasteland, you're adding 2 to the count.
Also, Kory has a Pride Mage in his hand, so he still has insurance against the sword.
Yeah.
So things are looking he's in a pretty dominant position. This is going to be spin for 2 Wasteland, full mana, spin for 2 Wastelands, play Pride Mage, kill your sword. We're done.
Yeah. Looks like he doesn't want to pay life here because he's under a little bit of pressure, no real reason. He's going to play the Pride Mage.
He's just going to bash him?
I don't know about this.
Yeah, it feels like
I would eat all his land.
If you Wasteland, yeah, because now Black Source plus Perish and he actually might lose.
I would certainly just eat his lands.
Yeah,
there's no way
how
he
on earth does he get
0
out of
lands
that?
against 2 Knights. I mean, I don't think he's going to win anyway.
But he definitely opened himself up to.
Right. I mean, even here, like if Phil has a plow, like he doesn't necessarily win this turn, and still has the turn where he can get Wasteland, he can get Perished. I generally like for my opponent to have 0 land when I'm able to engineer that game state.
All other things being equal, if the opportunity cost is close to 0, I prefer to Armageddon my opponent.
Yes.
All right, and that's the question.
Knights are still insurmountable, despite the couple of land Phil did have left. And Jacob Kory wins, and I believe advances to 4-0.
Yes.
So we have 8 total rounds